day 2 of the Mangaluru Design Summit 2026. Our next session takes us from the future of cities to the deeper ecology that sustains our coastal life. Our next speaker, Nestor Fernandes, is a marine biologist and ecologist and the founder of Canopy by the Coast in Goa. His work explores the relationships between marine, mangrove, wetland, and terrestrial ecosystems, and how these interconnected landscapes support coastal biodiversity, fisheries, and traditional livelihoods. Through research, conservation outreach, and community engagement, he works to strengthen ecological awareness and coastline resilience. In his talk, The Ocean Calls Us Back, Everyday Actions That Heal Our Coasts, Nestor reflects on the fragile balance between our coasts, communities, and food systems in a changing climate. Drawing from his work with fishing communities, coastal ecosystems, and marine wildlife, he invites us to consider how everyday choices, from how we design our cities and to how we consume and care for our environments, can help protect the oceans that sustain coastal life. So please join me in welcoming Nestor Fernandes on stage. Presentation. Can we have Nestor's presentation, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Charlene. And thank you, Mangalore Design Summit, for letting me be a part of this. I will make it a bit shorter than usual so that we, can continue with the panel discussion after this. So. Yes. Yeah. So, I'm going to be discussing about few things when it comes to Mangalore's river ecosystems, the ocean, and a few things that we can do as an individual and as a community. So, during the session, I am open to you all raising your hands and answering if you all want to. Yes. If you all have anything, you're most welcome to do that. All right. So, we know Mangalore is a coastal space. It is an organism. It is living and breathing. It keeps growing, it keeps changing, it keeps shifting over a long period of time. We have heard yesterday, there was a panel yesterday where we discussed about a lot of history when it comes to Mangalore. So Mangalore is biodiverse, Mangalore has trade, Mangalore has tradition, Mangalore has heritage. In this heritage comes our ecosystems. So we know that Mangalore is a large fishing site. It's a fishing harbor. It's a harbor city. There is a huge fisherfolk community that is also present here. A lot of infrastructures, including mangroves. You all must have seen mangroves when we are passing by Netravati Bridge. I'm sure you all must have. If not, the trees that you see by the river are those mangroves. Interestingly, the estuaries and the river system make up a lot of the mangroves history. We have two rivers. We have Gurupur and Netravati. These river systems, as you see from an older image, they're completely different from what they are now. Rivers and estuaries keep changing. That is how it has been throughout the entire history of ecology. So what rivers you have now, you might not have them in another 300 to 500 years. But because we build infrastructure, we build construction, we build various different, ports that are concretized, a lot of these rivers which are usually supposed to change don't end up changing. What is so important about rivers? They harbor fishes, they're great space for mangroves, you have tourism, There is various different channels through which boats can travel through. You also have culture based to the river. So, does anyone want to ask any questions now? I'm keeping it open to everyone to ask if you all have any. All right. So, I'm getting to the fish for now. There are different kinds of fish that we know we find in the sea. But how many of you know that a lot of fishes that we have, that we eat, actually come into the rivers to either lay their eggs or to basically hide from predators or to basically take a breather space in their entire life cycle? So we have a lot of fishes that come from inland rivers into our estuarine and our brackish waters. They also come from the sea into these brackish waters, and some of them that are resident. We have a lot of fishes that we get to see in these spaces that keep replenishing time to time. There's one very interesting fish that I really like. It's called a lemon shark, which is mostly found in the sea. But for the first 7 years of its life, it likes to stay in the mangroves. So it has its initial budding system from these rivers that you see on these spaces. So these are images from last year. You had torrential rains during the first month of June. We see a lot of water that was collected during the low-lying area, in the low-lying areas, and you also see a lot of soil erosion. So, what do you think might have caused this? We know that there's a lot of climate stresses that are basically placed onto our ecosystems on a day-to-day basis. But along with this, Mangalore historically has and had a lot of wetlands. So these wetlands that we have are now basically used for development. So we don't usually figure out how we basically should construct on them. But as we keep developing, keep improving our skills, we are understanding their importance, such as wetlands are great sponges. So if we remove our sponges that usually would hold these water, what do you think might happen? A lot of these places might end up getting water. Also, you have a lot of other creatures that live in these spaces that unfortunately are not able to sustain themselves. Followed by that, you also have mangroves, which are very important when it comes to preventing and reducing floods, and also various different natural disasters. So, do you think rocks are a good solution for our oceans? Or do we have other structures that have more impact on our beaches? Y'all can raise your hands if y'all think rocks are the next way to go about. If you all feel like there's something else that we can use, we can definitely explore that. Raise your hands. No? Mangroves. Okay, good. Can we plant mangroves on our beaches? We cannot. We can only have them by our river bases and areas where water keeps coming and going. But there is something else that has equal importance, if not more. Before we go to that, I want you all to see these maps. This is the map of Mangalore. So the one that you have on your leftmost is from 1986, and the one that you have on your left is 1997. Do you see any difference? No, right? No difference. What about now? Do you see the green cover? Do you see the rivers? We have a lot more, less sand. Our rivers are getting a bit wider. We had much less tree cover. So, all of these stressors and all of these things that we have around help in mitigating and reducing the effect. Should we not have a very systematic idea of what we are doing, we might end up having a lot of unintended consequences. All right. So, do you know what this might be? You have a lot of water, you have a lot of currents that are moving around. So, Our world has something called as the ocean currents, and they keep moving. As our earth keeps rotating, so does a lot of these waters. We have hot water and we have cold water. The cold water comes from the polar regions and gets pushed into the tropical regions. And vice versa, the tropical regions, the warm water come to the colder regions. This is how our seasons, this is how our cycles are created. This is how we have monsoons during certain period of time. Now, as the temperature increases, so will the currents. The currents will start slowing down. Because they slow down, we had much delayed monsoons, right? We had monsoon until November. So, should we have a better understanding of our ecosystem, can we kind of help in replenishing and building better resilience towards the upcoming structural changes that we might have? All right. So, you have your sun, you have your wind, you have your water that keeps replenishing on a regular basis. To this, we are adding a few more stressors such as pollutants, waste, agricultural activities, which are highly important, but sometimes we use some chemicals. You also have deforestation. So all of this plays a very important role in changing how our ocean and our rivers would normally heal itself. So, it is a generalized idea that this is not something that one person can do. This needs to be done on a community level, but it needs to start on an individual level. Some of the things that are going to be covered over here, which I want you all to also think about, is plastic. So, do we think that the coastal cities are the ones that hold a lot of plastic? They are not the ones that actually cause most of the plastic that you find in your sea. In fact, it is more generated from inlands, which then usually come through rivers and through various different calamities to the sea. And Mangalore is known for fish. Whenever I'm in Mangalore, all I do is eat fish, eat seafood. A lot of these fishes are impacted by plastic, and there's a term that we tend to use very often now, microplastic. It is not just the plastic or microplastic that affects us. It is the chemicals that they hold. They disrupt our hormone systems. They change various different ways that we normally live. So all of this has a large impact. So just because we are far away from land, if you're going somewhere for vacation and you may be having any type of food and you throw it on the land, it does not mean it will stay there. It will eventually reach you through some manner or the other. Now, this is a very important image that I wanted to show, because we work with a lot of fishermen, and with this, we have seen that a lot of smaller scale fishermen are finding it harder to get fish, because there are larger fishing systems such as trawlers that are called bull trawlers that pull the entire lower seabed. When it does this, it keeps changing the ecosystem in a way that it cannot return. These are not our natural form of fishing. This is something that has been introduced on a much later stage, but we have sustainable form of fishing. We have smaller boats, we have canoes that go in and do fishing. We've had interviews with fishermen where they have said that they have spent 2,000 rupees on fuel and they've gone spend an entire day and come back just with 1,500, 1,600 rupees worth of fish. It's because when we don't plan the type of fishing we might do, we end up seeing a lot of decline in the fish. As a matter of fact, it is believed that by 2050, we will have more plastic than fishes. Not to scare you all, but now that figure is changing. It is from 2050, it is now coming down to 2038. So the amount of fish that we are losing because of climate stresses due to overfishing is basically causing a whole cascading effect. So, mangroves. We have recently gone on places in Mangalore and we've seen a couple of mangroves that have been, you know, taken over, either due to like a bit of soil falling in, or there's some sort of unplanned structure that has happened. We end up losing a lot of fish. We end up losing a lot of erosion. Like you mentioned, that planting mangroves can help with erosion, right? So this reduces the fish stock that we have. And this directly impacts the small scale fisher, and the large scale fisher then have to work much harder to get this get the fish. So how many of you all want to pay just 100 rupees for maybe like 2-3 dozen of butai? We are paying 100 rupees, but if we keep going on this trajectory, we might have to pay 500 to 700 rupees in the next 5 years and keep going at it until a point where we don't end up having much seafood. So the whole idea of me kind of showing this, the intense side of it, is to basically make us understand what we have and what we might be losing. So I come from an ecology education background, and we work with a lot of people. We empower artists, we empower researchers, we empower various different communities to basically understand what they are having and what they are losing. And through that, can we only have a form of conservation. So what you see in right front of us is basically created by an artist, and this has been spread across everywhere. This was basically information that we gave, that the artist created and utilized it to spread awareness. So this is where communication comes into play. Whatever we talk about, whatever we try to speak about, if we keep going into the whole terminology, large terminology, it is never going to help. But rather, when we explain it in a simple way, can we understand? So can anyone now point out or tell me what could be the thing that might help us in protecting our coast from erosions beside walls? Something slope. That something slope are called sand dunes. So they are basically our living, breathing ecosystems that keep replenishing itself, and they act like our nature's airbags. Should we let these sand dunes replenish themselves, we won't require walls. We have had incidents where we have gone to fishermen and spoken about sea turtles, where because of construction of rocks or walls, the impact or the force of the waves takes the sand away and makes them lose their homes. Now, why am I talking about sea turtles? I've spoken about how mangroves reduce fish, right? Sea turtles themselves eat jellyfish. And if we have too many jellyfishes in our sea, they end up eating our fish. They eat the small fish of our ecosystem. So we have a disbalance. So whenever we don't plan something or whenever we change something in an ecosystem, everything keeps changing. So we have seen it, and we do believe that this is something that can continue in the future. A lot of these structures that used to have walls, when they are replaced back, we can let the sand dunes come back. Even if a place has total destruction of sand dunes, they have returned back in a decade or two. So we used to think that it might take a long time for all these ecosystem, ecological buffers to replenish. But we've seen them change on a regular basis. So using information like this, the whole idea of me talking about this was that we use things like this to understand how we can protect the city of Mangalore better. So, community actions. You all must have heard of beach cleanups. Everyone goes for beach cleanup. But we use beach cleanup as a tool to spread the message of why it is important that we don't throw waste, or why we don't, let it enter the sea. Because a lot of animals that we work with, that we rescue, end up getting this plastic. Also, when we do cleanup, we need to use information. We need to start collecting information. So should these kind of initiatives start in the future, it is always better to know what your plastic might look like or where it is coming from. Because I spoke about the currents, right? There have been times when we have gotten plastic from other places, but most of the times the plastic that we've gotten is Amulya Daily Whitener, we've gotten Close Up, we've gotten Parle-G, which shows that the plastic that we are mostly getting is coming from our own space. Okay. So, along with this, when you go to the beach, you tend to see a lot of shells. Do you think we should collect shells? They look nice, they look pretty, they are something that we can put in our pockets, we can take them and put in our house, right? So, in a raise of hands, do you think collecting shells might change the ecosystem? Yes? Good, okay. So there are 9, yes, okay. So, there are 9 reasons why we actually have the ecosystem, changing. So, how many of you all here take antacids? Sometimes if I have like something really spicy, I end up taking them. So, these shells act as natural antacid for our oceans. They act as a natural antacid, and if we have too much acid in our oceans, what do you think will happen? We will end up losing our fish, our corals, our animals. They also protect our beach from erosions. These tiny little shells, they act out as mini airbags. So us not collecting shells is a beginning of conservation. We do not have to do grand things. We can just start with small things, and we can do this. We have a lot of fishermen, artisanal fishermen, local fishermen that go into cooperative societies and sell fish. Having these fishes are very important because they are fresh, they are farm to table, and also they actually aid in saving the fishes that we have. Engaging with your peers, engaging with your friends, letting them know how important our rivers, our coasts might be, because our weather, our oxygen, which is something that we usually associate with tree, mostly comes from our ocean. We get more than 60% of our oxygen from the ocean. So every second and third breath that you take comes from the ocean. So it is highly important that we know and understand these things. And this is where knowledge comes in to the local communities, and we empower them. Because we are just messengers. We can only talk about these things. It is our sole duty as a community and also as an individual to not change in a way that we don't understand. Because a lot of our old historical information shows us that we were more in harmony with our environment than we are now. Yes. So, I kept it short for this specific reason because we have another session. I'm going to keep it open to questions. If you all have any, please do ask. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nestor. That was very informative. So, does anyone have any questions for Nestor?
Yes.
Can we have the mic? Oh, you and then you.
Hi, thank you so much. I just wanted to know about the last bit you mentioned where seashells actually help with the erosion, work against erosion. Could you elaborate on that?
So basically, a lot of the beaches have 50, 100 shells. So imagine I'm now a crowd of people, and if I try to run on towards you, do you think I'll be able to cross everybody if you all stand in a whole crowd? Or do you think it would be easier for me if there were only 2-3 people to run about? So basically, when you have many shells on your beaches, the waves basically change the way the forces spread around. So the surface area increases, and they take the force rather than the sand. And so the sand doesn't end up getting pushed in, and that basically helps in one way of preventing erosions. Obviously, there are many other reasons why we should not collect shells. But yeah, this is one very important thing because we are seeing a lot of erosion across our coasts all across India in general. Yeah, yeah, yes.
You had made a commentary about declining fish stocks, right?
Yes.
And we are seeing that with Pomfret already. Pomfret
Yeah.
is like $2,000.
Yeah.
What scientific monitoring is available and also accessible to regular people
This is
to understand the population of fish in our local area, right?
So-
also because the thing is like when we talk to our fishermen, they don't really have data. Like people talk in generalities, right? They say that, yeah, fish stocks are declining. How do you quantify that? And is there any active satellite-based or any other kind of oceanographic monitoring that can help with that data?
So that's a very good question, actually. So we keep saying that the fish decline is happening through various different matters. One is social interviews. Second is there are small, fish landing studies that are being done to see the amount of catch that's being done. For example, I'll tell you a very simple way. This comes from the social science point of view. The amount of the boat being sunk when it was returning has reduced by around 60%, showing the amount of reduce of catch. Furthermore, CMFRI and various other organizations are doing studies, but it's not enough. It has been basically just scratching the surface, which is why we need to empower more people to, one, research about it, get involved in it by speaking with the community, and in fact, it is a very quantifiable method, the social interaction of talking to fishermen, because they are the ones who are seeing it on a day-to-day basis. So if you basically create a trend, you create a trend over a period of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you can actually see a huge decline in various different species, including pomfret. Yes. Pomfret's another fish that, so just like a FYI, black pomfret is something that is safe to eat during this month. So if you ever want to have pomfret, now is the time.
I wonder if the catering team got that for our lunch.
Yeah. Also sardines, butai. So you can try that as well. Yeah.
About erosion, I would think the department is the biggest culprit. Because, I'll give you examples. Mangalore Port, new Mangalore Port, when they started, they put the breakwaters out, and more or less the whole of Tanir Bavi vanished. To counteract that, they put breakwaters at Netravati. Then again, the inflow of sand in the Bengre area started, and Ullal started getting eroded. And we are at Ullal. We have lost 300 meters or more of land in the last 25 years.
I absolutely agree, because unfortunately there are strict laws that prevent you from, one, concretizing your beaches. Coastal regulation zone, it notifies you cannot actually concretize your beaches, but it is unfortunately some of these institutions and other departments that are involved in it. Mangroves cannot be you cannot encroach on mangroves, but unfortunately this is something that we are seeing. This is where community empowerment comes. The whole idea of us sharing about this information is we ask these kind of questions. We talk about how much we have lost, because only can we talk, can we, is it okay if we put the presentation back? Yeah.
Put the presentation back on, please.
Yeah. So I was talking about the artists, for example. So that now has been, so they were building a construction wall, and that has been put in the NGT, and it has been put on, a stay has been put on it, because, one, we have used satellite images. Second, we have used interviews of fishermen and the locals from that area, and also the tidal wave. Basically, you have your tidal waves, you have your wave action, and your beach profile to kind of show how there's a lot of impact. In fact, the whole idea of me showing you all the map was for you all to kind of understand how there's a huge change. If you actually notice on the map how it used to be more than 35 years back and how it is now. Do you see the amount of water that is spread around? So the whole idea is that we empower about it, and I definitely understand this, and we are facing similar issues, but it is becoming easier and easier to make ourselves be taken seriously, because more people are asking such questions. There are a lot more youngsters, there are a lot more adults in general who are thinking about what, is different. What are we doing wrong? Because already we are suffering due to floods, due to increased heat. It's something that we see quite often. But yes, another thing that that we've learned about it, and somebody has told us, which is really fascinating, a lot of illegal activities are learned from people who make the law. Because usually, unfortunately, that is somewhere, you see that it is kind of being, tarnished. So,
You can see the difference now.
yeah.
The Ullal area south of the
Yeah.
river mouth. You see how you see it had a sort
Yeah.
of a G-string effect, and
Yes.
then you have the accretion in the what do you call Bengre area. It's about more than half a kilometer. So it's absolutely taken away all the sand from here and pushed it north.
Yeah, I agree. So the whole idea is that we kind of talk about this. These are very important things, because heritage is also tied to ecology. It's tied to your environment. It is not just us having, various different stories, because stories begin with wildlife and environment, because we live in that on a day-to-day basis. Yes. Any questions? Yeah.
I think this will be our last question. Unfortunately, you can catch Nestor off stage later. Yeah.
Sir, I just wanted to ask that how can coastal cities like Mangalore balance economic growth from ports, tourism, and fishing while protecting the marine ecosystem of the Arabian Sea?
So first things first, there needs to be a lot of study. This is something that we do not have much of. So assessing how you develop something. This is something that I will tell it during the panel also, but we do not have very sustainable planning. We do not have the information to work with. We have successful models in various different states where they use natural ecosystem to kind of build it. So in tourism also, there's something called as ecotourism. Wildlife and nature is a very, very good system for tourism. So rather than focusing on just, having jetties, if we have natural ecosystems where we have various different programs done to do ethical viewing, ethical fishing, and not allowing trawlers or boats coming close to the shore. So like you said, fishing, right? This is another thing that we have noticed very commonly. These persines, the ones that have crane, and trawlers are supposed to be 12 kilometers away from the coast. But if you go to a beach, you will get to see it 1 kilometer away, 500 meters away. So holding these things accountable can also help with it. Ecotourism, and also understanding and researching about these structures. So this is the best that I could answer. If you do feel like you want me to add something, I'm happy to do that as well. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for those questions. And thank you, Nestor, for that very informative talk. And before you leave, we'd like to offer you a token of our appreciation.
So I get 2 plants.
No, you have to give that one back.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we're being sustainable, one for one.
Good. Yeah, okay. All
But
right.
we can give you another one later if you want.
Sure. Thank you.